Here are 50 quotes attributed to Elon Musk, the renowned entrepreneur. When something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. Failure is an option here. If things are not failing, you are not innovating enough. Some people don't like change, but you need to embrace change if the alternative is disaster. The first step is to establish that something is possible. Then probability will occur. If you get up in the morning and think the future is going to be better, it is a bright day. Otherwise, it's not. Persistence is very important. You should not give up unless you are forced to give up. It's okay to have your eggs in one basket as long as you control what happens to that basket. I think it is possible for ordinary people to choose to be extraordinary. I could either watch it happen or be a part of it. Life is too short for long-term grudges. I think that's the single best piece of advice. Constantly think about how you could be doing things better and questioning yourself. The path to the CEO's office should not be through the CFO's office, and it should not be through the marketing department. It needs to be through engineering and design. The tough thing is figuring out what questions to ask, but once you do that, the rest is really easy. Brand is just a perception, and perception will match reality over time. You shouldn't do things differently just because they're different. They need to be better. My biggest mistake is probably weighing too much on someone's talent and not someone's personality. I think it matters whether someone has a good heart. If something is important enough, even if the odds are against you, you should still do it. Work like hell. I mean, you just have to put in 80 to 100-hour weeks every week. This improves the odds of success. You have to be pretty driven to make it happen. Otherwise, you will just make yourself miserable. Constantly seek criticism. A well-thought-out critique of whatever you're doing is as valuable as gold. People work better when they know what the goal is and why. I say something, and then it usually happens. Maybe not on schedule, but it usually happens. Any product that needs a manual to work is broken. Starting and growing a business is as much about the innovation, drive, and determination of the people as it is about the product they sell. The factory is the machine that builds the machine. I think it matters whether someone has a good heart. I'd like to dial it back 5% or 10% and try to have a vacation that's not just email with a view. Great companies are built on great products. Talent is extremely important. It's like a sports team. The team that has the best individual player will often win, but then there's a multiplier from how those players work together and the strategy they employ. It's very important to like the people you work with. Otherwise, life and your job is going to be quite miserable. I'm interested in things that change the world or that affect the future and wondrous new technology where you see it and you're like, wow, how did that even happen? How is that possible? I don't create companies for the sake of creating companies, but to get things done. There are really two things that need to be done. One is to try to have a future that is inspiring and appealing, and the other is to try to make sure the future happens. The thing that drives me is that I want to be able to think about the future and feel good about that. If you go back a few hundred years, what we take for granted today would seem like magic. I think you should always bear in mind that entropy is not on your side. The only thing that makes sense is to strive for greater collective enlightenment. It is possible for ordinary people to choose to be extraordinary. What makes innovative thinking happen? I think it's really a mindset. You have to decide. Rockets are cool. There's no getting around that. It's very important to have a feedback loop where you're constantly thinking about what you've done and how you could be doing it better. I think most of the important stuff on the internet has been built. There will be continued innovation for sure, but the great problems of the internet have essentially been solved. I'm not trying to be anyone's savior. I'm just trying to think about the future and not be sad. We're running the most dangerous experiment in history right now, which is to see how much carbon dioxide the atmosphere can handle before there is an environmental catastrophe. I think we have a duty to maintain the light of consciousness, to make sure it continues into the future. I would like to die on Mars, just not on impact. Patience is a virtue, and I'm learning patience. It's a tough lesson. I think that's the single best piece of advice. Constantly think about how you could be doing things better and questioning yourself.